Hi, welcome to my Friday message. This is a synchronistic message based on what I am receiving intuitively, and I'm really glad you're here. Um, I'm going to kind of just like free myself up today. So if I say and if I pause, it's because I really want to authentically get this message across today. So I hope you can hang out with me for a few minutes. And I'm so sorry it's so dark out here. I live in Washington and it's just beginning to be that time of year where it's just always dark. So I need to get more light in my room. So let's get started. Today is going to be a little bit different. Instead of doing a taught message, I'm going to share with you something that's going on with me personally, and I'm going to walk you through my steps of how I'm untangling a personal situation. And whether this resonates or doesn't resonate, I hope it can help model to you what it can look like to really peel back the layers and free ourselves from what feels really overwhelming. And I'm pretty fresh from unpacking this myself. So, when it's something, when it's your own tangles, it's a little bit harder to see sometimes. So just bear with me as I do. All right, so let's get started. Um, this week I've been very aware of this for longer than this week, but the why has been triggered this week. So I've always struggled with people pleasing and control. And I feel like those are really like interlooped for me, right? Like control of events is something that is relevant for me, and then control of things and people. And it can obviously kind of propel into even more control. So I can get into like these spells where I'm saying yes to these controlling tendencies, and then I get wrapped up in them. So it can it can initially stem as like wanting to control someone so that there's not chaos or backlash, but then if I'm giving into the control, it can actually propel into really like unnecessary things like control over what someone's eating or like how they're eating. It can just manifest into this like really weird thing. So that's a side note, but my point in saying that is that these things can actually, like, if we give in to these basic struggles we have, they can like get so much bigger than the initial reason that they started. Okay. I hope that makes sense, but let's keep going. So here I have this theme of perfectionism and control, right? And I'm going to kind of do this on a whiteboard along so you can sort of see like where I'm going with this. So I have perfectionism and control. Um, and I think it's fair to say perfection is, I think it's fair to say that a lot of these issues probably stem from fears, but we'll kind of circle back to that. Let's just start at like the base thing that I'm noticing in myself. So I have perfectionism and control, um, and how that shows up for me is like people pleasing, um, and I do the people pleasing because I want to control people so that I feel more comfortable, right? Caring about other people's thoughts. This is going to be a really bad whiteboard thing. And then control over things and order. Um, so this for me can manifest as like wanting to control what things look like in my house, or it can be like anxiety if I'm 2 minutes late to something. Like I want control over everything, right? So that my body feels comfortable. So that's how it's like showing up for me. So these things here we have perfectionism, control, and then like how they're kind of manifesting. So people pleasing, control of people, control over order in situations. So if these things all happen, then I get the perfect thing I'm looking for, right? Well, if those things don't happen, if I can't control other people, um if I can't make people happy with how I'm being, um if I perceive that I can't do it, I'm probably going to avoid, right? So I do notice like avoidance in my life. All right, here we go. um and that's kind of a red flag in itself, right? Like if you're avoiding things or people, that's kind of an alert to you that you are kind of trying to do band-aids, right? Because if you're avoiding something, like what are you avoiding? Well, in this situation, I'm avoiding things because I can't make things perfect, right? And so I believe that it's going to give me perfection. Okay, so maybe this does work sometimes. And honestly, it probably has worked for me in the past. Like these methods have worked for me. And in that sense, like you think the way your body and like inner self has helped you cope with things because it's been trying to help you, right? So I say, thank you for trying to help me. Um, but the problem is, and then this is why it's worth working through, is this doesn't actually end at a happy ending. This ends at the loop starting. Oopsies, jeez. Okay, it happened. The loop starting again, because you know what's happening right here. This is just fear repeating itself, and then the fear is actually the base of all of this happening. Okay. So fear is the ending of this loop and it's the beginning of this loop. It is a loop. It is not me arriving at a perfect ending. I'm not helping myself and I'm not helping anyone else. So this is obvious, right? But when you're dealing with these things with yourself, it's not obvious, right? And so it's hard to break this down into the core issue, right? So here I was at this deeper realization that it was a fear loop, okay? Which, to be honest, it was hard for me to get there because it's not like I feel scared, right? Like fear is weird. It shows up in really weird ways, and it's not going to be like a scared kid hiding in the closet. Like fear shows up in very sneaky ways, okay? So for me, it was showing up in this way, and I kind of was like, well, what am I scared of, right? Like truly, like, and it had first had me thinking like, okay, so perfectionism. Am I scared about what people think about like what I look like? And I genuinely didn't feel like that resonated for me. So it didn't feel like an image vanity thing. So then I kind of was just processing through, and what came up for me was that like it's less about image and it's more about safety. And maybe at one point in my life, like there was like emotional chaos, and I kind of controlled the chaos by managing how everything was. And if I could just show up a certain way, then it could almost guarantee that others would show up in a certain way. And then I wouldn't have to deal with backlash that was uncomfortable to my nervous system. And so then I got really good at it. And then it became a way I processed through things in life. And honestly, it becomes a way you manage through everything. So even things that aren't unsafe, you start showing up that way in those situations that are actually safe. So here I have relationships and friendships that I do feel safe in, yet I'm still showing up in this really controlled way in order to not disrupt anything. So as soon as you realize this, as soon as I realized it, it's very obvious. Well, I can actually be really safe with this person. I can be honest with these people, and it could actually make us closer, or um, whatever the situation is. But like the point is, I can be honest with these people. So here's that example. Another example is kind of testing it out in other areas of my life. Like if I'm late to this appointment, what is the worst thing that can happen? So you start to like, it's not like you're bullying yourself into realizing it, but you start to give yourself situations where you push the envelope a little bit, and then you can see that you're still safe, right? um so I've talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about it again. It's not about me getting rid of this part of me that I don't like. I can't just say perfectionism and control, you're no longer allowed here, get out. This is where somatic processing and meditation and praying and really focusing on these parts within us that struggle is really powerful. So this morning I sat with this, what exactly did I sit with? I sat with this feeling of a loss of control this morning. And it showed up for me in my head, which was interesting. Usually things show up for me in my heart center and in my chest. And I just sat with it. It was up in my head, and it kind of felt like a throbbing. And I sat with it, and then it integrated into my body, and I felt more peace. And it's an onion. I'm gonna need to keep coming back to this probably for my whole life. But each layer of the onion is so powerful, and it's gonna give me freedom back in my life. So I think for me this has been really a powerful morning, and I think I wanted you all to be able to see the unpacking of this issue in my life, because unless I unpacked it, if I just said, Alyssa, stop people pleasing, Alyssa, stop being a perfectionist, which honestly I've been saying those things to myself for years now, that's not helpful. It really is not. It's like that's me mothering myself, and it's not worked this far. And for you, for whatever issues are coming up for you, um, just telling yourself to let it go and stop and slapping your hand, it's not going to help. The awareness is going to help. So, gentle and loving awareness to that part of you is going to help. It's not going to be like a doing and an achieving. Certainly, peeling back the layers and like the work I did this morning is helpful. But then at that point, it's not fruitful to just like um, pick at yourself, right? So I think that meditating and like sitting with that part of yourself is going to be really helpful. But just inviting like that awareness to notice when that's coming up for you and whatever your problem areas are, um, I think is going to invite softness to the area. And as soon as you allow softness to come in, your body's going to release information to you. So I'll tell you what your body won't release information to. It's not going to release information to you if you're just like bossing it around and telling it like, tell me why I do this. Like this has to be like a loving like a loving flow in order for like your intuition to speak to you. And so I hope this has been a helpful guide for you. And I would just like encourage you to notice where you feel harsh emotions, and try to trace it back. And if you have any questions or want me to help you unpack, you can comment here on YouTube. You can reach out to me on my website. I do free initial sessions with people. And so getting to the root issue is genuinely something I love to do. And you're not forced into working with me, but I would love to talk to you. So yeah, I think that's it. I like didn't follow my notes at all. I hope I got everything in, and I hope my honesty and like genuine, like this is what I journaled about this morning. Like this is what's going on in my world. So I hope something I said here was helpful to you and your journaling today. So there you go. There's my Friday message, and I wish you all well. I'll see you next week. Bye.